Noon, we are going to start our study session. Number 5, we did have the public hearing on the 7th, so that will be considered on the agenda. I have number 9.
This out loud, I'm sorry.
And I will know by Monday. So I'm gonna call that ready with a question mark. Councilor Caldwell.
Thank you, Madam President, and blessings to all. I have items 10 through 21. We got Chris Abbott up here. We're going to start off with 10. Chris?
Good afternoon, Council. Chris Abbott, Program Director with the Parks Department. Item number 10 is an agreement with the Everson Museum of Art for services related to a summer arts education program. And that's at no cost to the city. That's Everson provided.
Okay. That was the next thing. We didn't see any dollar signs, so that was my next question.
No dollar amount, yep. They're providing that service to us.
The advertisement for the community to be aware of this, how is that being done?
Well, so it's part of our summer playground program. So we've been promoting the weekly or the daily programs in the parks, and this is one of the enrichment programs that's part of that.
It's okay.
Yeah, so it's.
Chris, can I talk about the advertising, right? Because I know with the Everson, they were trying to get to a bigger population of folks in that particular area. So how are we advertising? Because a lot of those folks aren't going to see your daily whatever. So how can we get that information to the folks that's right across the street?
From the Everson?
Uh-huh.
So, again, this particular program, is related to the daily youth program. So we're trying to get that information out to the entire city because they're going to bring the program right into the parks. They're going to bring it into Kirk Park and Schiller Park and Wilson Park. And it's the same as last year. It was a really interesting program of digital art. But we'll continue to advertise and promote the program through.
How, Chris?
I'm sorry.
How are you going to advertise it?
Through our social media, through direct outreach from our community centers, from our playground sites, making sure the kids are part of the year-round program.
I think that would be the ideal way, is to actually have the contact, the hand-to-hand, letting those folks know
And
that.
that's what our staff try to do on a daily basis, to make sure everyone's aware of the summer programs that are coming up after the after-school programs end.
Would you be interested in being like in the arts calendar of CNY Arts? We can get you in there.
Okay, yeah, I think that would be a good way to let the community know that this arts program is one part, for, folks that might be interested in art.
And it can be twofold too, because I know Everson is trying to connect with that community anyway.
Absolutely.
So it could be twofold to connect that community to the Everson.
And as a separate program, we just completed a unique and really neat program with the Everson where they brought an artist from New York City into Kirk Park, and they did the Golden Net Project, which was really neat. And that involved the kids from the community centers. We transported them there. So yeah, we're trying to do more with the Everson. They've been a terrific partner, so we hope to expand on that.
I think that's great. One thing I'll just add, and I know you probably already do it, so I'm just saying it anyhow. We got to make sure we tap into our schools. We got King and all the schools there, so that they know those kids can, come
Agreed.
out for it.
And we hope to continue to offer more, so that we have more programs to bring to
Thank you.
community. Sure.
Doing item 11. Any questions? All set. You got item 11 too?
I do. Item 11 is similar agreement with the Friends of the Zoo, the Rosemont Gifford Zoo, for again, educational programs, enrichment programs as part of this summer playground program in the parks. All right. And so they'll bring the 1-hour Zoo to You programs to the various parks as part of our summer program. All right. And that's at a cost not to exceed $1,800 for the entire summer program.
Any questions? Okay, item 12.
Item 12 is an agreement with the Eastwood Neighborhood Association to offer recreational activities in Eastwood area parks. It's a partnership that we hope to expand recreational offerings, including the Learn to Skateboard program in the Eastwood Skate Park, and hopefully some other activities, including fitness and wellness classes, educational programs.
Any questions? Okay. Item 13.
Good afternoon, councilors. Corey Dunham, in role as Parks Commissioner. This is an agreement with Veterinary Emergency Services for related to services for dogs.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay. Item 14, you might as well come back.
This is an agreement with Onondaga County for the city's deer and tick management program, where the county will reimburse a portion of the payments made for the program.
What does this program consist of, though?
So I'm going to call on my colleague, Greg Lowe, to help me answer some of the questions. But I mean, it's mainly the culling that is associated with the deer and tick management program.
You mean the ones that they're supposed to be getting rid of, and I have like 15 in my yard right now?
Working on the east side.
Greg, before you go into the details, Corey, really quick, the portion, does it say the percentage of what they'll reimburse?
Let me take a look and I'll find out. Yeah. I'll see
Yeah,
if I
what is the total cost of this too?
The county reimburses, Greg Lowe, Chief Policy Officer. The county reimburses all municipalities participating in the program on the same scale. It's roughly 20% of the costs with a set base fee. They provide a base fee of $7,500 and then a sharing for the rest. Corey will check the details, but it's a cost sharing that's applied equally to all municipalities. Regarding the services covered, there's two categories of services. It's funding for actual deer management work, and then the county also provides the services of Cornell Cooperative Extension for the communications and outreach, public education efforts around tick-borne illness prevention and deer management.
But that program has nothing to do with them coming to get the deers, right?
No, it's the same program. That's deer management, culling, targeted removal, all the same terms for removal of deer.
Do we know where we are with that this year? Because I know March was supposed to be the time period, what I was told.
Yeah, the program ran from December through the end of March, and we'll be scheduling a meeting this summer, as we always do with the council, to review the results from the USDA that have been presented to us for this season. I would note that we're pleased to report to your concern about neighborhoods that are still dealing with high populations, that the legislation that we worked with Assemblywoman Hunter and Senator May's office to reduce the setback area that is currently required by the state was passed by both the Assembly and the Senate before the session was closed. It will allow us to reduce by half the setback distance. There are property owner notification requirements required with that. The final step now is signature by the governor, and we'll be in communication with the governor's office and the DEC to get that done. That will hopefully allow us in the upcoming deer management season to do two things. One, make progress in areas that continue to struggle with high population of deer, and two, demonstrate we can do closer setbacks safely, so we can ideally continue to make the case with the state for even closer setbacks. Because your problem, there are probably others in the room who are experiencing exactly your situation, despite significant reduction in the deer population citywide, and it is having an impact. Some neighborhoods, none.
Yes. So does this also protect, are you doing anything in the parks with the deers, like far as spraying and informational? Because some parks have a lot, and that's where the children are playing.
It's the public information program and tick-borne illness prevention that is the recommended path forward, and we are working with CCE, Cornell Cooperative Extension, on education programs. Treatments with pesticides is not a recommended path for reducing the tick population.
Greg, can I ask you a question? When you talk about I'm gonna talk about the money piece of it. Have we talked to the DEC? Have we talked to FDA? Are there any grants to help us along with this? Have we talked to anybody?
We have always relied and continue to rely on the county now for a portion of the funding. I do not know of any funding available at New York State for deer removal, but I will take that challenge to look into it. It's I would not expect the DEC would provide funding to communities for deer removal, but I will admit to you, we have not tried that path, so we will.
Is the reimbursement the same as it was last year?
It's the same, it's the same reimbursement with the cost sharing is the same reimbursement that the county introduced.
And is the plan similar to last year as well, as far as how many you plan to abate or target?
We haven't developed the plan for next year yet. That will come to the council for a meeting this summer and talk about the council's goals and objectives, and then develop the implementation plan for the upcoming year.
Thanks.
Yep.
This is sort of to you and Corey, because I know Corey's interested. Last year, I mentioned this briefly, that we need to put informational out in the parks, so that parks where we know is highly concentrated, where deers are, where there's soccer, right? We know Berry Park, there's a lot of deers there. Homer Wheaton Mountain View Park, that's baseball, there's a lot of deers there. On the north side, there's deer. So where we know there's highly concentrated deers, there needs to be information out there so that about ticks, so that because a lot of people don't know about it, right? And we need to prepare them and educate them, so if they do see it, what to do.
I think signage in our area, in our parks, is a viable way to do that, that gets people right where they are.
Absolutely.
It's a hard message to deliver. As you know, there's some nonprofits who are working really hard full-time on this issue of tick-borne illness prevention.
It's a hard message to deliver, but I think I know 3 or 4 people that has Lyme disease,
Yeah.
and that's not a disease that
It's devastating.
anybody wants.
It's devastating.
So if we can get that, and then get maybe even some information out to all these little leagues that are in those departments, so they can talk to their parents and just educate people. So if they see a tick, what a tick look like, what it looks like. But thank you. Any other questions?
I wish, just to comment, to your point, maybe language appropriate in the different areas.
Yes.
Where you have different regulations would be.
Understood. Okay, yep, we'll start working on that.
All right, we're all set on that one? Okay, item 15, please.
Item 15 is just for an agreement with the various individuals who provide refereeing and officiating duties at as part of our leagues and tournaments.
Do we know how many different leagues and tournaments that we're going to be having?
Not off the top of my head, but I can find out.
Okay.
What about, you don't know what sports?
Well, I mean,
It's usually over the summer.
I did that program last year to teach young people to become referees, so that they could be a participation of our summer. Are those kids?
It could include that, yeah. It certainly includes all of the leagues throughout the year, so including the summer leagues, which have just started, and our rec center leagues, the programs that run in between the after-school program sites. We bring referees in for the older children there, and potentially, include instructional, programs for instructing kids, and we've done that in the past as well.
So, sorry, Chris, thank you, but is any of the children that were part of that training for PAL, the referee program that happened last year to get training so that they could referee some of our younger teams, are they a part of this,
I'm not aware if they are. So this is specifically related to the referees that come on board through the referee board, so the certified referees in the area. So I'm not sure if any of the children or youth that came through that program have joined the board.
Okay. Thank you.
Take item 16 as well. That's agreement with Edward Cole and Rhythm and Shoes for musical performances throughout the year. Okay, for an amount not to exceed $2,000.
Any questions? Okay. Item 17.
Item 17 and 18 are related. This is, 17 is to replace equipment as part of the parks program. So this was in the capital fund, so the information's in the packet, but it includes but is not limited to mowers, blowers, aerators, backhoes, compact utility tractors, compact utility loaders, and necessary attachments.
And then, Corey, what do we do with all of that equipment that we have that's there, that's not,
In terms of it being stored,
it's not functioning? We have, so if we're replacing and we're getting more equipment, what do we do?
so what do we do with the old equipment is the question. To which I will turn to Rich DeVesti.
Hello, Rich DeVesti, Fleet Director. We auction what we can't use through Auctions International.
Okay.
And you asked one time, to date, we've been using them since 2015. We're almost $700,000 worth of old equipment that we've sold since we started the beginning of 2016.
Okay.
So all that money goes back to the general fund.
Keep on selling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, anything we don't use, we don't leave anything sitting around anymore. If we can't use it, we'll put it to use by getting the funds back to the city.
Thank you.
No, next, Corey, you got 18?
So 18 and 19 are to authorizing for the sale of bond to make repairs and replacements, enhancements, new construction for splash pads throughout city parks. I have Josh Wilcox here if anybody has any specific questions about splash pads, water recreation features.
Well, you can look at me. For 400,000, how many are we doing?
So let me turn to Josh.
Josh Wilcox, Parks Department, landscape designer. This year, we're on task to do the replacement at Burnett Park, the Mr. Pole. We're on task to do the Washington Square splash pad completion.
Which one?
Washington Square. And then Cummings Field is the next brand-new splash pad we intend to construct with the majority of these funds. We're also going to use what's left over in these funds for other replacements and enhancements, such as the parks that currently have concrete bollards, like McKinley Park or Lower Union Park.
Are you doing anything for Lower Onondaga?
For Lower Onondaga, that splash pad down there, that splash pad is one of our most popular in the city.
Okay.
We've enhanced it with some new benches. We intend to keep doing some more stuff with the trees, keep enhancing the creek walk that goes through there.
Okay.
But it's our most used.
Okay, what are you doing with the fountain?
The fountain at Lower Onondaga, the plumbers, last time I knew, they've got a pretty good redesign, not really a redesign, but new enhancements to it. And one of the plumbers and I have talked briefly about, furthering that effort.
'Cause it's a beautiful location, and if you
Yes.
could get the fountain back going, it would only enhance.
Yes, the whole trail through
Yeah,
there. is
then they can go down there and take pictures, but anyway.
good amount of fun. Definitely. Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. No questions. Next, Corey.
Items number 20 and 21 are related. They are for the purchase of vehicle replacement. There's information in the packet that this includes replacement of trucks, the medium-duty trucks, the years of which are 2008, 2009, 2011. This also includes light-duty trucks, multi-use vehicles for trail and winter operation, forklift replacement, and I also have Rich DeVesti here for any additional questions.
Counselor, did
And
you get the list?
Casey as well.
No, not on that particular.
Uh-oh,
I just wanted.
off topic?
Yes, it is a little bit off
I know that.
topic, and I was just wondering if you and your, as interim commissioner of Parks and Recreation, you could check with the school district on their policy of the use of schools. For years, the city Parks Department had extensive programs in the city schools, and it evaded a lot of issues that we have in some of our neighborhoods. And I read over that, I've somewhat piqued my interest because I read about a facility being used for a program that was, and they weren't charged for it.
Yeah, at no cost. Yep.
So I was wondering, I know for years, the Parks Department was always back charged by the school district, with custodial fees and hourly fees. So we could check to see if
Yes.
the policy's changed?
Yes, I will.
And if they would be nice enough that they could apply that to the Parks Department. Because
Agreed.
I'm sure the Parks Department could throw programs into some of our city neighborhoods, in some of those city schools, buildings that we own.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll be happy to follow up with the school district on that.
So I apologize for my delayed response, but Cotton Park, when I drove by this morning, I did notice that there's some work being done. So is this the splash pad? No? So what is that?
Casey? This is Casey Craig, our superintendent of grounds.
Good morning. That park was scheduled this year for a dig out and resupply of EWF or engineered wood fibers. It's mulch for the playground.
Okay,
So they're
gotcha.
digging out the existing area to put new mulch in.
Okay. Do you know how long it normally takes to do that?
They'd be working today if it wasn't raining.
Okay.
So it should be completed by Friday at the latest.
Okay, good.
And since you're maintenance on the, did they clean her?
What's that?
Did they clean her? Because she needed to be clean.
No, that wasn't on there, but I'm sure we can definitely do something about that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, wait a minute. Since we're on that topic. The park that's connected to Dunbar, where are we with that? Because that's owned by the city. And it's like really bad over there. Grass is growing on the court and everything. Is that the list?
Yeah, we could definitely follow up on a few of those efforts. As many individuals know, the grass cutting got a little bit behind, so our team had to come in and pick up some of the slack and carry some of the load. That's since subsided, so now we're looking to address a lot of these other issues that are coming across.
Well, yeah, just me, I got a couple calls, actually, it was new to me, I didn't realize that was a part that we sort of took over. Just the maintenance of it, as far as, the new nets and just getting a look at it, so I'm not trying to call you out. It just came to my head when you were up here, so.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Anytime,
Yes.
on my door, phone, whatever is always available, so,
Okay,
thank you. Anything else?
No, thank you.
thank you. Oh, back to 2021, you had a question?
No, we asked, got them answered.
We're all set?
It's on there.
All right, thank you.
All righty, Counselor Green.
Thanks, Madam President. Item 22.
Hi, good morning, Council, or good afternoon. Veronica Voss, Deputy Commissioner of Finance. Item 22 is, we talked about before, and I sent a couple of emails. Did everybody have a chance to review those about the proposal is to, instead of having the city subsidize the boot fees for people who are getting their cars booted, we would transfer the entirety of the cost to the registered owner so that they would pay their own fees. And this will save the city quite a bit of money. They were also proposing that all non-residents pay an additional $50 administrative fee.
So I do have a question with that. Offhand, do you know the percentage of non-residents versus resident tickets?
Yeah, I sent a 562-page report. You didn't read the whole
I'm
thing?
sorry, I didn't.
Well, it's a little bit lower than that. It depends on the month you look at, but I did a report for the first 5 months of 2023, and it shows that 25.9% are non-city residents and 74.1% are. So about 1 in 4 are non-city residents.
So do other municipalities charge extra for non-city?
Yeah, actually, that's where I got the idea from, was Paylock. They mentioned that certain, in fact, it was Poughkeepsie and someplace else in New York State were charging an administrative fee. So I passed that information along to the powers that be, and they said, hey, that's a great idea.
Remind me again, once a car is booted, they have, 24 hours to pay the boot? It's towed?
Yes, they have 24 hours to pay the boot. It doesn't always get towed within 24 hours. Depends on the availability of the towing companies. Yeah, they have to call the number. There's a sticker on the car, and they call the number, pay the boot fees, bring the boot into the city.
Wasn't there some questions about this item that was still, we were looking into it? Yeah.
Well,
I don't even
one of the
know.
questions. So this agreement's from July 2022 to June 2025. So the agreement's in place. It's not that we're extending Paylock. It's that we're amending it.
That's correct.
I think that was one of the questions.
So my only concern is that I know we have to do certain things. We have to get on speed, but we also have to be sufficient on our jobs. So that means if we're going to charge people to make sure that they're parking right, we got to make sure that the booths, the tickets are right? That means that the paper's in there, that they're working. I've been multiple times throughout the summer, people taking dollars, taking credit cards. So I just think we need to be really on point with that before we start saying, oh, yeah, right, I watch people nothing comes out, the paper is white, right? So we have a lot of issues that we need to handle.
Parking meters.
Right, parking meters. Before we
That's
start,
unfortunately not under my purview, that's.
I get it.
But I understand what you're
But when
saying.
it connects together and we start charging people and we have fault, it's under all of our purview. So before I'm okay with this, I think we just gotta make sure we check and balances the other.
I
piece.
just have a couple questions for you, Vicki. Let me ask you this. So Paylock, we've had Paylock since what, 2004? And for the percentage, what has been our revenue coming back in from Paylock? Do you know?
It varies. We realized, I could get your report on that with all the monthly, because I send a report to Brad
I
every
just
month.
would like to know what the total that we're bringing back in from Paylock. Okay. Okay, well, that's good, because then, I mean, I'm thinking 2004, we have a tendency of carrying stuff over without looking for anybody new. Have we looked for anybody else besides Paylock? Because we're how many years into them?
Not to my knowledge, we haven't. I can tell you that I worked with Paylock last year they wrote special software so that they are assisting us in merging similar accounts. Like if you had an account for Vicky Voss and one for Veronica Voss, but it's the same birthday, same address, they might be different accounts. I might have 2 tickets here and 2 tickets here. We talked to Paylock. They wrote the program at no charge, and we worked it out so that they do a download from the Ames parking data system, and then they merge the accounts that can be merged, which has increased the number of boots that they can put out, which makes them money and brings us in more money. But if he's already got the report, you don't need.
Okay, and I'll get the report that the auditor had, but this is my
That's not to
question.
say we can't look for somebody
No,
new
that's
for the
fine.
next
I can look at
contract.
that, and I would like for us to look at other people, because I'm curious to know, since Paylock took over in 2004, what was the number then that we were collecting from, and what is the number now that we're collecting from? And how much of a dent have we made in it, and how much do we have left?
Well, people are always continuing to get tickets, right? So I could get 5 parking tickets this week.
But it should shrink.
And in
because
90
we
days
have-
from now, when those are all not paid, then those tickets would qualify me for a boot, or three or more tickets.
And I get the new ones, but we were carrying over 15, 20 years worth of tickets. So what's the
Some
real
of the
number?
tickets can't be, some of the tickets that are so old that they can't be booted because there wasn't a notification on the ticket itself saying that you could be booted, and that, I believe, was March or April of 2007. So anything before that, we can't boot on, but it's still 16 years.
Okay.
Of the
Okay, before we jump in, let me ask you this. I have a Mary Cunningham who's lost a credit card. Are you still in here? Mary Cunningham? No.
See her.
I think she might have been one of the.
She
people that
was
spoke at
the other night, so I know who Mary is, so.
I think Nader wanted to say something, but you
Okay.
need to look at the mic if you do, Nader.
Up here, sir.
You just yelling.
Yeah. Mary.
Nader Maroon, City Auditor. In the report that I just submitted to all of you at the last session, currently there's over 37,000 boot-eligible license plates, and to a total of over $18 million owed to the city. Currently, Paylock is booting average 3.5 days a week, and maybe total time in any given day tends to be around 4.5 hours. There's one person doing the booting only. So the city historically, years when we first started this, the police department did it, then the police wanted overtime pay for it, so we went, as some of you counselors know. So, and then Paylock was doing this. They had 2 people, they were using 2 vans. They can only boot within the public spaces within the city of Syracuse, which includes if somebody parks their car in their driveway and it's still on the sidewalk, it's a public right of way, we can boot there. But the point being is that we're really falling far behind with just one person, not even full-time, doing this. Recent time vintage, they're not booting on the weekends either. So we really need to get a handle on this. Again, I would ask you to revisit the report that I gave you all. I'll give you all the financial information in terms of the number of tickets issued and so on and so forth. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We move to item 23.
Good afternoon, councilors. Brad O'Connor, Commissioner of Finance. Item 23 is request for approval of the levy as amended in the budget that was amended last Friday. This is the amended number. This will amount to a 2% increase in the tax rate. This we're asking for approval to bill this to the taxpayers.
Questions? Okay, thanks, Commissioner.
Thanks.
Item 25.
24, Counselor?
Oh, sorry, yeah.
That's okay. Frank Oliva, the city's Chief Administrative Officer. Item 24 is the next fiscal year contracting with our primary IT consultants. We went to RFP a couple of years ago. We keep 6 firms on general contract, and then as we have projects that come up, we look for which of these firms is available and has the specific expertise, and we then contract with them individually for that particular project. But this is the general contract and the general dollar amount that we'll be using for the next fiscal year.
Questions? Thank you.
Okay. Items 25 through 28 are all related to our municipal broadband program. 25 is taking the money from the from ARPA, from that broadband program that's been previously authorized, and then 26 and 27 are to paint and maintain, do some routine maintenance on the tower, communications tower that's at the fire barn at Onondaga Lake Park, or Onondaga Park, excuse me. This has been out of service for a number of years, so it needs some re-engineering and painting in order to be put back in service, and we'll be putting one of the broadband points of presence on top of that tower, so utilizing existing infrastructure rather than building new infrastructure. And 28 is authorizing an agreement with Syracuse Housing Authority. We'll be putting some points of presence for the broadband program on some of their facilities.
And the question was asked earlier by one of my colleagues, and I'm going to ask it again. So with these being put on like Syracuse Housing and different, we're going to maintain them, correct?
The network will belong to us. We'll maintain them under, they will maintain it under contract, but we'll be paying for the maintenance.
Who will maintain them?
The broadband company that we've.
Okay,
yep.
but it won't be Syracuse Housing maintaining.
That's
it.
correct.
It'll be-
Yep,
okay.
they belong to the city of Syracuse.
Okay.
Thank you.
Frank, who's laying the cable for that?
I don't believe that's been determined yet. I think that is still where new fiber needs to be run. I don't believe that's been contracted out yet, to my knowledge, but I'll check on that, Counselor.
Would that be RFP'd or would it go through?
It's a great question. I don't know whether that's part of our agreement with the broadband folks or whether we're actually laying that fiber and contracting for that. I'll confirm that.
Okay.
I'm sure the union line workers would be curious to know.
I'm sure.
And they will, and I'm curious to ask that question because I know Verizon has been laying fiber throughout these particular areas. So are we going to?
Well, we do, whenever we lay fiber, and when just about anybody lays fiber, they try to find an existing conduit. So we have agreements with Verizon and other utilities that allow us to follow their conduits, and most other utilities that are laying fiber do exactly the same. Nobody wants to lay new conduit if they don't have to.
So I have a question, twofold. This, for the broadband, how is this going to play? I don't know anybody from police here. How is that going to play a role with the cameras that we were asking about? Nothing
Separately.
It won't have any support with it?
So nothing direct,
Nothing direct.
but the more fiber is in the ground, the more ability that we have to add on to those network capabilities, but there's no direct connection between the two. This is going to be, again, for the broadband pilot program that we're running in a few select targeted areas in the city. So the fiber, any new fiber, will be leveraging some existing fiber, and we'll be laying some new fiber. So for example, the fire barn doesn't have enough fiber running to it, so new fiber will be running to the fire barn.
I take your expertise on that.
Also, just to the point that was brought up, Sharon Owens, Deputy Mayor, to the point that was brought up yesterday for the camera conversation, the meeting that I said we were going to have internally that I thought was next week, we had this morning, after I looked at my calendar. And we are exploring how we can get our own poles up to begin to get to that camera installation. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. And with that second part is being how close to Abbott is to the university, where is that? Is there going to be
I'm sorry.
the broadband, because we're providing the Wi-Fi?
Yep.
So how is that going to affect SU or help them in any way, do you know?
That, to my recollection, is not, the SU area is not one of the target areas in the pilot.
Well, Tooney Abbott is.
Toomey Abbott is where one of the points of presence is going to be, but I don't think it's headed in that direction. And the program is not targeted at those SU areas.
They still need to have a unit in their house, right?
Correct, yes,
So-
right. In order to take advantage of it, you have to have a unit in your house. Thank you, Council.
Okay, thank you for explaining that.
Okay, so now we're on item 29.
Good afternoon, Councilors. Nicolas Diaz, Chief Innovation and Data Officer of the city. Item 29 relates to the Open Data Day that we are planning for later in the year, doing a waiver of RFP to continue working with Center's ACO in planning for this effort. The aim of the event is to promote and bring more awareness of the city's open data program, as well as continue inviting the community to participate, build skill sets related to technology and data among our youth and students, populations, among the general population, anyone who wants to participate. We have been already collaborating with Center State CO already in the pre-planning efforts. There's also a lot of overlap with the Tech Garden program offering. So there's a lot of potential in tapping into that already built-in audience. And also my team has participated learning from other open data events. One of my team members went to New York City to learn about their Open Data Week. We don't feel we are there yet to do a full week, but we wanted to start with one Open Data Day later in the year. Any questions?
Okay.
Thank you.
Nico. Okay, item 30. Today's Flag Day, so we have an exciting announcement.
All right. Good afternoon, councilors. Eric Gunnis, and I'm before you in a little bit of a different capacity here today as president of ADAPT CNY. So item 30 is going to be presented before you would be the adoption of the new city flag design, which we are going to unveil for the first time publicly for everybody here in just a moment. But just a little bit of background. So I would like to start by wishing you all a happy Flag Day. And I would like to say it's not by accident that I'm standing before you here today with this item. So over the past 18 months, ADAPT CNY has been facilitating a community-driven process to redesign the Syracuse city flag. In November of 2022, last fall, we put out an open call for submissions for artists, designers, and really solicited a 3-month period where submissions could be coming in from the city, from across New York State, and we even saw some come from across the globe. In February, more than 300 or almost 300 submissions were made in total to this design competition, and they were carefully vetted by the Syracuse Flag Committee, a volunteer group of passionate individuals who were selected and identified after ADAPT CNY put out an open call for volunteers to become engaged and participate in the redesign process. Now, as we recently discussed and talked to many of the counselors back on May 16th as part of a committee meeting, the Syracuse Flag Committee members comprise of a diverse group of individuals with a wide range of backgrounds and live in many different neighborhoods here in the city. We are also proud to say we have all 5 council districts represented with the members who are part of this committee. And I do want to take a moment and recognize that numerous members of the Flag Committee are here today in the audience as well, here in council chambers. So over the past year, we've used this time to have a community-wide dialogue about the flag redesign process and what the principles of good flag design and bad flag design are. As part of that, and again, generating almost 300 submissions in total, we've held community workshops in city neighborhoods to educate and explain this process to the public and why ADAPCNY is doing it. We've engaged with teachers at the Syracuse City School District, and we encouraged SCSD students to participate in the design process as well. Now, at the Flag Council Committee meeting, we announced and revealed 4 semifinalists that were then put up to a public ranked choice voting process. So we've had that really over the last 3 to 4 weeks. During this time, ADAPCNY and the members of the Syracuse Flag Committee have been soliciting votes throughout the city and encouraging people to participate. An online voting system was created for people to provide their feedback and their preferences on the flag designs. We also conducted numerous in-person voting opportunities, 19 different opportunities at public libraries, the Salt City Market, and a number of other public places over this voting period. There's even been online Reddit discussions and Reddit threads. I will tell you there's a very strong, passionate underground community that loves flags in this community, and I think we saw that over the last 18 months or so, and it grew. And the other thing is that we saw a lot of robust discussion on social media as well. I've also come to see, I think we really came to see that a lot of self-described flag critics have come out as well in the last 3 to 4 weeks. So I think we want to acknowledge that as well. All of this dialogue and discussion helped inform people and the fact that we even have a flag in the city of Syracuse. I think we found more and more and more people who just simply weren't aware of this. And finally, last week, ADAPCNY also held 4 flag-raising ceremonies where each one of these semifinalists were able to raise their flag in the flagpole in front of City Hall. So that was also a great way for each of these artists and designers and their family to participate in these flag raisings as well. So all of this volunteer-led effort has culminated to this day. Again, it's Flag Day, when we are about to reveal the finalist that was the highest rated flag and the winner of this design competition after this public voting and community engagement process. So first we're going to reveal the flag. I'll tell you a little bit about the artist as well as just the intent behind the design.
Before you reveal the flag, I just want to say thank you, Eric, for taking the lead on this, and thank you, Michael, for bringing this forward. And to the committee, thank you for volunteering to do this. Because as you stated, everything we do, we have a whole bunch of critics, and they always talk about they didn't have time. Like you said, you've done this for 18 months. And so where they've been for 18 months is beyond me. But here we are, and we're at the point of now we're gonna get ready to unveil it, and I do appreciate the commitment from all of the volunteers.
Well, thank you.
President Hudson, I think you and Councilor Green should go up there and be part of the unveiling. I really do.
Wait, I didn't have nothing to do with this.
Well, actually, Councilor Green should be part of it.
Come on. This is this was meant to be the people's process. So, okay, so without further ado, and I do want to recognize my colleague from ADAPCNY, Andrew Frazier, also has been such critical and instrumental in this process. So, councilors, when you're ready, President Hudson, you can step back as soon as you reveal it. But so, without further ado, the new city flag that's under consideration. And for those of you who may have been following, this is known as the first light flag. And as soon as we get that easel fixed, we will stand this back up.
I'm assuming over there, are you the artist over there in the corner?
So the artist, I'm going to give a little background on the artist because he has joined in with members of his family here too. So just briefly, so this flag again is known as the first light flag. So first about the artist who designed this is Eric Hart. And again, Eric is here with us in council chambers today. Eric is an 8th generation Syracusan, born and raised in the Valley neighborhood of Syracuse. He's a graduate of Corcoran High School, so go Cougars.
Let's go Cougars.
Yeah.
We ain't doing that.
Let's go.
And so Eric is also a graduate at Onondaga Community College and Syracuse University.
So can Eric stand by the flag?
Absolutely. All right, Eric, by all, please go ahead. And one of the things I'm also going to do, Eric, is with the description that you've given us over this, I'm just going to describe everything that you're looking at and all the symbolism on why this represents Syracuse and a number of the factors as why the committee nominated it as a finalist and then why clearly Syracuse picked it as its new flag. So the first light flag represents our land, our people, our hopes, and our dreams. The six-pointed star symbolizes the 6 nations of the Haudenosaunee and the 6 historical names of which Syracuse has been officially known over its history. Its central location on the flag represents Syracuse as the center of New York State. The triangles represent the hills of Onondaga and the Onondaga Valley. The word Onondaga means people of the hills in the Onondaga language. The left triangle is the hill facing westward towards Hiawatha Lake. The right triangle is the hill facing eastward towards Thorndon Park. The orange color symbolizes the bright rising sun over the Onondaga Valley and represents restoration. The azure blue, or light blue, color symbolizes Onondaga Lake and perseverance. The navy blue color symbolizes the hills of Onondaga and industriousness. The white color symbolizes salt, snow, and peace and represents the city's history of using the sun to pull white salt from our salt springs during the earliest days of the city's history. And so with that said, clearly you've seen the flag before you today. I'm happy to answer any questions. Andrew, again, my colleague, we've been a part of this process through to fruition, but in terms of process, the council will have the ability to vote on this through ordinance. This would be at the meeting itself, and a majority vote is what will officially adopt the new city flag. So any questions? Okay.
All right, well, I just want to say thank you to the committee. Thank you to Eric for your commitment to it. I know he's been a robust, one of the underground flag people. He's one of those, so I really appreciate all you do. And this is something exciting that I think is going to live beyond all of us here and hopefully be a symbol for generations to come. So thank you.
You said the stars are the 6. Say that again.
So there's 2 purposes behind the 6 star. So, and Eric, correct me if I get any of this wrong, but the 6 different nations within the Haudenosaunee, so each one of those points on the star represents that. And then over Syracuse's history, prior to its name as the city of Syracuse, whether it was Salina or there's a number of names this community was called before Syracuse, each one of the points on the star represents those 6 different names before it was called Syracuse. Did I get that right, Eric? Okay. And the other thing, Eric, you have a whole website that already you would create a dedicated. So like is it firstlightflag.com? Firstlightflag.com. Okay. So if you want to dig even deeper into the meanings behind this, firstlightflag.com is something that Eric had created as part of this process as well. So
isn't it amazing what's possible when when a family stays here for 8 generations?
I think it's a great story as well. So
Thank
Eric,
you.
Congratulations as well. So all right. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, now 31 to increase the water fees. This is equally exciting.
Good afternoon, Commissioner Well, it's going to be tough to follow that one, but so item 31 is to amend. Actually, it's supposed to be ordinance 347, not 346, which is the water rates, not the water infrastructure fee. So increasing the water rates by 4% to cover our operating costs, because our material costs have increased over the years by 20-30%, such on like our valves and our piping. And one of the biggest increases we've had has been in our chlorine disinfection. Since February of 2021, the cost has increased by 106%.
So
questions?
What does that equate to for the average family in general?
So right now, the current minimum rate is $42.12. It is going to increase to $43.81. It's $1.69 per quarter minimum charge.
So $7 a year.
Right. Any questions?
Okay. Thanks, Commissioner.
Joe, can you send a new letter?
Yes. We'll submit an updated letter for that with the right ordinance number.
You standing too long, you gonna get some questions.
All right,
Thank you.
all right.
Yeah.
Item 32, 33, and 34 will be discussed in executive session. And then we'll go to item 35.
Good afternoon. Joe Barry, First Assistant Corporation Counsel. 35 and 36 are the Law Department's annual waivers for appellate printing fees and process servers for litigation purposes.
Any questions on these items?
No questions, just a comment. You know I got to comment on everything, right? But I do get it, and I do get it with out competitive bid, but everybody knows I'm a stickler for that. These two particular items, I know we have to move in that direction, but I would just like to see administration, I would just like to see us do more things and putting out competitive bids and stop wavering them.
Understood. I think in this particular matter, these are really specialty services, so it's very hard to find alternatives.
I do get that, and I know with some of the other stuff is proprietary, I do get that, but a lot of other things is not, and we don't put it out for bid, so, okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Item 37.
Good afternoon, Councilor Matt O.J., Commissioner of Assessment. We've got one roll correction to request today on the current roll. It's a property that was demolished in the last calendar year. The current roll should reflect that.
Where is it? Like, what's the cross street for it?
I believe it's between Hawley to the north and whatever the cross street south is, just north of Burnett.
Got it. Any questions on this? Okay. Thanks,
all.
Commissioner. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Councilor Gathers.
Thank you, Madam President. I have items 38 through 65. We're going to hold 38.
Meeting.
We got 39. Anybody want to speak on? There will be a public hearing on this on July 3rd, but is there any information? No. Items number 40, 41, 42. I believe that we still have some things that we would like to get a list on.
Item 40. So we discussed 40. You
Yep.
wanted?
41, 41, 42. That's three.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're all together. They're all together.
Yeah, the comprehensive plan on.
They're all together, yeah.
Yeah.
So one of the things that, after having the meeting, getting a comprehensive plan on what other cameras, where are they in the process, which really isn't you, right? I apologize, but where we are with the other ones, before we move forward, like we're saying, oh, we're doing this, we haven't finished it. What's the timeline on the other cameras, where they are, what doesn't work, and when are they in the line of being put up?
Sorry, Counselor, just to confirm, these are the cameras that are being installed by the neighborhoods or in parks and neighborhoods?
So, Chief mentioned yesterday there were multiple cameras
Yes.
that were ready to go. And he also mentioned, I'm not sure if you mentioned, Counselor Schultz said that she actually sent me a picture yesterday that we can't put them on the poles, and we have a lot of cameras in the city that are on our city poles?
Yeah, there's a light post where one of the cameras is mounted. So you were talking about yesterday how challenging it is to some of the communal poles, let's say, that have Verizon, National Guard, and other things on it. So wondering if it's an option to just mount them to our streetlights.
So we are exploring both in the short term and the long term how to get more cameras up. I don't want to speak for SPD, Chief Schaaf, but I think from the meeting this morning that Chief Cecil has that information readily available to share. So I think we can get that well in advance of the vote on Monday of what projects are in the queue and ready to go.
Yeah, Chief Schaaf shared that with us in an email, so we have
Right.
that list.
Okay.
In our
So,
email.
if that's the case, Corey, when you had the meeting this morning, did you guys talk about individual poles that we can put up? When we talked about it yesterday, we talked about the individual poles.
Right, and I don't want to speak for the deputy mayor, but that was the crux of the meeting this morning, was in the short term, those projects that are ready to go, meaning SPD and Ken Towsley working together to figure out how we can install our own poles to get those cameras that are ready to go installed and not wait for, the 6 months and for
clear
Grid and
from
Verizon
Grid.
and everything. And then also exploring what we can do in the long term as well.
Okay. Did we come to some type of a consensus, Deputy Mayor?
Absolutely. So the police department is working with Ken Townsley, who will be working with Grid, because we still need the power connectivity, but we are going to go forward and looking at how we can begin to mount our own poles. Gentif is exploring also, we're going to use what we have, what we use typically now, but technology is changing. So we're looking at other, what we would consider smart poles that have some ability to really expand upon poles that we insert for our own infrastructure that we would control. But we have a short-term solution we have to come up with to get these cameras up for now, and then we're looking at a longer term that I hope is not too long term.
Have we looked at how many poles we may actually need to put up?
So Ken is waiting for the chief
Okay.
to tell him that number and prioritizing that number for the polls. So the inventory, he mentioned yesterday that the inventory backlog has relieved itself. So we're waiting for the state budget process and be ready to order, and we'll get those back in and not have to wait 6 months to get them installed. If he's going to work with Ken Townsley to be able to put our own poles up. We're going to prioritize them, so he's going to get that list together of where he ran it off yesterday at the committee meeting.
We sent the list, we just.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief, for sending that, but we want to know like the timeline, like where are we? So I know we've been trying to get it done, and if we're waiting on the state, that's a whole nother ballgame.
Well, yes, we're waiting on the state because the funding had to come through the budget process.
We still haven't approved it.
Yeah,
The budget's approved.
I think they approved
I
it.
thought they went back.
They approved it.
So it will have to go through DASNY. Chief says the cameras, DASNY for everything else we do, it takes quite a bit of time, but for the
Yes, it
cameras, it's
does.
not as long. And they release the money because we do the ordering. And so we'll find out in more detail what that timeline is. But I think we have a better path to being more efficient to getting them up.
I think that's an admirable goal. I will say it right now, logistically, it's going to be a bear.
It
In
is.
the city right away, underground utilities, people might not want another pole. I just went through this up on Wilbur Avenue.
Right.
I mean, it's like really going to be a difficult thing to accomplish.
It is
And
a
getting the
balancing, it is a
act-
balancing act not to inundate our right of way with a bunch of poles either. So really taking a look at where it is practical to have them.
One more question. You may not be able to answer, but Deputy Chief Schaaf, what is the range of these cameras? Because can I see you down the street?
Rich Huff, First Deputy Chief. It's basically line of sight. Some cameras are better than others. The newer ones have a better range, but it's usually only a block or two. And then as long as you can see the next camera in sight. So you can't see a long ways away, at least anything with a value. That's why you'll see there'll be every couple blocks for two reasons. One is for the quality of the video, and two is the cameras need to communicate with each other to send it back to headquarters so we can view it.
So with the technology, and maybe IT should answer this, but with the technology that's being updated constantly, do they have any cameras that can, let's, for argument's sake, say, see a quarter of a mile down?
See how far?
A quarter of a mile?
I don't know the answer to that. I can find out though. What's the max range?
Yeah, I would like to see if they have any updated that has a bigger range, then we don't have to put so many together.
Yeah. And when we set those projects up, we try to get the best bang for the buck, and because we're working with limited dollars, we want to get the most out of them that we can. So we're already looking at that.
Drones with the city flag on them.
There is technology for drones and cameras. I don't know if I want to go down that road right now.
No, but I'm just curious, because if we're talking about filling up our right-of-way with poles, if we could find more updated cameras that'll carry a bigger range, then we don't have to put so many poles together to get what we're after.
We are absolutely prepared to take some ownership of our own destiny around this, but we also have to weigh that with the aesthetics and how it will actually impact neighborhoods as well. Because we don't want 3 poles every block.
Right, that's why if we could find a camera that'll go a quarter of a mile, maybe we could start looking into different camera systems. Because
As our cameras get old and then we're replacing them, we're repairing many of them, but some of them would need to be replaced. We need to continue to keep up with the technology ability.
You know, I think we gotta be cognizant, for years, we've been trying to let people know about the Creek Walk and what a major achievement it was. I mean, years ago, people just dreamed about it. Now we can go right through the whole city. And I think it's incumbent of us to try to make that as safe as possible. And I also know people use it as a way to get to work, not just recreation too. So, you know, because the way it stretches through the city, so.
To the councilor's point, it is really 2 different conversations, but we assure you that on the street right of way in the neighborhoods, we're pushing forward on a plan for that.
I'm not gonna say nothing. I promise. I said everything I had to say yesterday because I want to say some stuff, but I hear you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Item 43, I'm Mary Robson. I'm not sure I introduced myself.
We didn't give you a chance.
Sorry about that. 43 is accepting a reimbursement of $11,000 from Lemoyne College. They, as part of our PSAP TIP project, they asked for some additional rapid flashing beacon units on Salt Springs Road to improve the pedestrian crossing on Salt Springs Road between the Lemoyne's academic buildings and their dormitories. So the $11,000 covers the installation and equipment costs of these units, and they're in our right of way, and the city will continue to maintain them. Any questions on that? 44 is amending permission ordinance with Onondaga County for their green infrastructure projects and some CSO projects. And the amendment is adding the 2023 CSO project list.
Okay.
45, we are initiating the seeker review process for the installation of a new sanitary sewer on Rand Ave and St. Mark's to serve 6 residents. The sewer currently runs between the backyards of these properties and is not functioning well.
President Hudson, I just want to thank Greg and Mary and everybody who's been involved in this. It's a neighborhood that's been besieged by really an awful situation for a lot of years, and until the mayor's office and engineering and everybody else. And this has been a long-standing problem. This goes back 2 or 3 administrations. So I want to congratulate you on taking care of these poor folks on Rand Ave.
Me too, Counselor. And just a quick question on that note. I know there's another one I heard about. Do we have any more communities that's like this?
I don't know of any, but I don't know. I can ask our sewer
I know
department.
you talked about the second one earlier today, so it should only be 2, right?
You're asking about with private sewer systems? I don't think that should be a problem. I've never presumed to speak more than Mary about with expertise in this topic, but I have heard anecdotally of another one perhaps neighborhood that still has a private sewer system. Okay. But I don't know that factually. I've heard it anecdotally.
Okay.
I'll look further into that. I don't know of any others. So this one we are also.
This one I've been on since I've been here, so yeah, I remember
It
this.
stems back from the way the city was put together historically. This used to be a railroad right-of-way, basically. It wasn't even a street. So it's a really difficult situation.
Okay.
And I'll be coming to you with further legislation, doing the seeker and some other legislation at the next, in a month.
I have a question. It's sort of off, but it could help me figure out some of this. When we're doing in DPW's night, but when we're doing paving and infrastructure, like for instance, Clinton street, right? We put the two-way, it's a two-way. Soon as you guys did that, who came and dug in the ground? National Grid or somebody, right? So you did a beautiful mill and pave, and next thing you know, we digging in the ground. Like, what sense is, I mean, and not to you.
Join my world.
Right, but that's what I'm saying, like, it was just like all the work that you
Yep.
guys put in and made it look beautiful, right? It's nice. And then I turn around and it's not a two-way again, because their National Grid is digging in the ground.
Yeah,
messing
that-
up the beautiful mill and pave. Like, what's that?
That's something we're continuing to work with all the utility companies. I guess, actually, I haven't even read the email, but someone told me about it, that I guess Grid knew we were doing work, but by the time they investigated what work they had to get done, they couldn't get it done before our milling and paving. But this is something we're working on with all our projects to try and implement the dig once philosophy so that these utility repairs can be done prior to milling and paving.
Right.
And
Do they get notice, Mary? Do they get ahead of time the notices of what we're gonna be milling and paving before they go out there and start digging up?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep, especially with our tip projects. This project's been in the work for a while. The road recon, they come to weekly meetings. We give them our list as soon as we have it. It's a continual work in progress and a continual struggle.
And it's
And a continual frustration for all my engineers that work so hard to get it all done.
Right. Okay, sorry. It's I apologize.
Where was I?
Do you have 46 too?
46, thank you. Got me off topic.
Oh.
46 is requesting to amend an agreement with Barton LaJudas for the downtown mill and pave project, which was completed in 21. But this past spring, the project still hasn't been closed out. This past spring, you might have noticed some corners that were torn up, replacing sidewalk corners where we had cracking. We did some additional striping. So this is just $20,000 for B&L for their extra efforts for this additional inspection. A lot of this work was done at the contract. This corrective work was done at the contractor's expense, but we thought B&L was deserved of some reimbursement. They requested a lot more, but we settled on $20,000.
All right, 47.
47, 48, and 49, we're getting into our tip projects. This one is authorizing detailed design for the East Brighton Ave project, which is from Thurber to Seneca Turnpike, mill and pave project. Preliminary design was $426,000, previously authorized. We're adding the detailed design phase for $433,000, so that brings the total not to exceed at $859,000. We do have a public meeting scheduled for this project. I believe it's June 27th, looking for public input on the project. And then construction would be in 24, 25. But this is so we're completing the preliminary design right now, where we're going to be getting public input at the end of this month. And then this is to authorize to go into the next phase and enter into an agreement, authorize the bond and project authorization. And it's getting the 15% Marchicelli and the 80% federal.
Okay, because I smile when you say Marcia Shelley, so say it again, say it again.
Marchicelli. So, any questions on that?
No. 50.
50, 51, and 52 is Midland Ave Mill and Pave Tip Project from Ostrander to Seneca Turnpike. We had just wanted to give my plug for getting public input. We had the public meeting a little over a week ago, I believe, and we're accepting comments through June 20th. There's a website that you can go to and submit comments. But this is, the preliminary design was authorized at $256,000. We're adding the detailed design for $345,000 for a total cost not to exceed $601,000. Again, 80% federal reimbursement, 15% Marchicelli, and 5% local.
All right.
And this one will be constructed in 2025.
And I don't want to mean to make more work for you, but you said that the public comment, right?
Yes.
And I understand that you're going to have some people that will be able to go to the website, and then you're going to have some people that's not going to go to the website. So I really would like to reach as many community folks as we can. So is there any kind of way where if there's work going on in those communities, maybe with DPW's help, we can put the survey or input on their residents so they can have input into this?
Oh, like, we can't put it in their mailbox, but like a thing that we put attached to their front door or whatever?
Yeah, with maybe the website on it, or
Okay.
if not, just a couple quick questions on what they design they would like to see. I just don't want to see anybody left out, because in the end, they're going to call us screaming saying they didn't know about it.
Okay.
So,
All right, we can look into that. 53, 54, and 55 is another TIP project, paving East Colvin Street from Comstock to City Line. Preliminary design was authorized at $458,000. We're adding the detailed design phase for $375,000 for a total cost not to exceed $833,000. The public meeting for this is tomorrow in the
June
the atrium.
15, 14, 15, 15. In the atrium.
15.
I saw that on the news. And Mary, just a quick thought come to me, right? Because this is not going to be done to 25 when we go backwards. Does the city, by chance, Deputy Mayor, have anything at any of these festivals? Because there's a way to get that information out to the different communities coming through. Like surveys on the tape or something. Do we have anything at the festivals?
We don't table the festivals, but we can look into.
Well, maybe we can just have a city table and put all the information out there, because they be coming, man.
Yep.
They be coming.
Put it right next to the beer tent.
Or the wine slushy tent.
So I was just curious.
No,
because,
no.
I mean, maybe if we could have the surveys and say, this one is for Midland, this one is for this street, and whoever is in that particular area, they can get that survey.
Also, as just listening, thinking over there, I've loved the yard sign approach for the sidewalks has also been a good approach we've been using. So I was thinking about that when we were over there, when I was sitting over
just
there.
as long as we try to get to as
Something
many
like
of
that.
our
We
constituents.
could just line
as
the
we
street
can.
up with some of the yard sign kind of things, because that really, people are appreciating that for the sidewalk
And then I'm sitting
program.
here laughing, so put the number, tell them to call City Line.
Well, yeah, that's what's gonna happen, but yeah.
Okay.
For the 53 to 55, it's starting at Comstock and then going up.
Comstock to City Line, so almost to Nottingham.
Are we doing anything for State Street to Comstock?
They're doing that now.
They're doing it now?
Doing that now,
The
from
paving part?
Janesville to Salina.
Okay, perfect. Just wanted to be sure, because
And the state is going to be coming in and doing utility work on a portion of that too, so it's not going to be over soon.
all right, 56.
50, Counselor.
Yes.
56 has been requested to be withdrawn,
Be withdrawn, all right.
if I'm not mistaken.
57.
Hi, Rich DeVesti, the Fleet Director. 57 through 65 are just waivers to use contractors for parts and labor for companies we don't have county contract with. The reason 56 was scratched is we ended up getting a contract with them. We use them for parts all the time. This is, proprietary equipment. We can't possibly have a contract with all suppliers. So we have to go and get extra contracts so we can do business with them. for repairs and parts. Basically just truck parts, truck and equipment.
And each one of these companies are specifically targeted?
Oh,
for-
yeah.
Okay.
We purchase from all of these.
Gotcha.
Cummins
All right.
makes the engines, we need parts from them. You know, we buy vehicles with Cummins engines that are on contract, but to get extra parts for them, you know, Cummins itself isn't on it.
These
Same with all
companies-
these Hackers, Packers, these are all companies that are in the area that we have to get parts from to repair what we have.
These are ones that they pretty much do every year, but
Yep.
they're not standardized from what I understand.
Right. Well, it's, like I said, the one we see 56, they ended up getting on a contract that we can use. And, you know, some companies will bid on the next year, sometimes they don't. So Tracy Road's been on it for years, and this year they didn't bid on it, so now we have to add them at number 65. So it changes as it goes along.
Does the county use these vendors as well?
Well, they'll do their own for whatever parts. Yeah, because, you know, I mean, there's not a lot of people that make the bigger stuff, so you have to go through. There's a lot of stuff that's on contract. We don't have to do it, but some parts we have to work with, you know, vendors that aren't willing to go to the county and get a contract. So we just do this. This makes it easier.
Thanks, Reg.
Yeah.
All right, no further questions, Madam President Mossad.
Thank you. Counselor Hogan.
President Hudson, I've been waiting to say this for about 8 years, 66.
Been longer than 8.
That's ready. Any questions?
You say?
Okay. There's a lot of whispering.
Oh, wait, go ahead. I'm sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry.
66 is ready. 67, who's handling that? Michael? I would just say that this is an ongoing improvement in the permitting department.
Thank you, Counselor. Yeah, Michael Collins, Commissioner, Neighborhood and Business Development. Jake Dishaw is out of the office today. And as Counselor mentioned, this is a software that has allowed us to greatly improve our efficiency, ease of use for applicants, and we continue to expand the types of permits that can be submitted through this program as well. This is simply the annual renewal for the contract.
And this is added to the speed and efficiency.
Incredibly so. Yeah.
It's been
Very,
a
very.
uphill struggle for a lot of years.
It has been, but certainly with new zoning regulations, with the fact that zoning is coming under our control, and the budget that you all approved did include more staff from other departments that are related to permitting. So we're looking forward to the changes that are still in front of us.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Counselor, can we go back to 66? Sorry, I didn't fully understand that. By that being ready means.
What did you, I run that by me again.
Item
Counselor.
66
Right,
that
that's
you
right.
declared was ready, that means on Monday, we're going to be voting for
Yes.
rezone. So I know Owen's here. I have 2 questions for you, and I actually sent you an email regarding those questions, so. Our last meeting that we had, we exchanged questions specifically regarding Article 6 landscape term. So I guess my basic question is there going to be any revisions to the last draft that you shared with us, to what we see on Monday, what we vote for on Monday?
Thanks, Counselor. Owen Kearney with City Planning Division. We do not intend to make any further edits to rezone. That said, and I did see your email earlier, the question regarding landscape versus landscaping. I'll provide some feedback in writing for the council's review. But simply put, that the preservation ordinance will not, and I think already in practice, does not regulate landscaping, selection of flowers, shrubs, trees, things like that. Landscape features like topography, retaining walls, fences, stairs, they will regulate. So we feel that there's a distinction there. I can provide that distinction in more
In
clear
the-
terms using the language in rezone, but
Right.
I think maybe ultimately to answer your question most directly is we do not intend to make any further edits at this time.
And I've heard you say what you just said, which is great, but I just haven't seen it in print, so I just worry that going forward, if somebody picks up that 250-page document to try to find the nitty-gritty, and they don't see it, that there could be some confusion going forward, so I just wanted about that clarity.
Understood, and I'll send you the sections that we feel covers that. I started to cut and paste those sections just for your consideration. I think it does a pretty good job of making that distinction, but we are at a point where we've presented our final version.
Okay. And then one last question, and I had another email. So again, you're not going to make any changes to that document, correct?
That is correct.
So there was a disconnect between that
Yeah,
illustration.
the graphic, the illustration, we actually have language in the ordinance, and I'll send this to you also, identifying that the text, if there is a graphic that is unclear in the question that the counselor had presented probably a week ago, when we've been kind of going back and forth regarding one of the graphics in rezone and whether the setback diagram was clear. It could be more clear, but the text is accurate, and we have language in the ordinance that says where there's any discrepancy between text and graphics, use the text. So we feel like we're on solid footing with the text being accurate, but we agree when we do make subsequent edits to rezone, that could be more clear, and we'll surely do that.
And this pertains to driveways and width requirements. So that's where the disconnect was with the little figure versus the text. So.
Thank you, Counselor.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Ellen.
Thanks, Counselor.
Okay, we'll go back to where I was. 68, local law to add a new article. This is about tobacco retail license. And I think maybe, I'm going to obviously have a meeting on this. I just want to maybe give us a thumb number.
A meeting on 68.
Good afternoon, councilors. Greg Fair, Assistant Corporation Counsel. So this is a local law that will require retailers in the city of Syracuse who sell tobacco products or vaping products to come to the city to get a license to sell those products. And in addition, the local law will put restrictions on where the retailers can be. So they can't be within 750 feet of a public park or a school or another licensed retailer, so that we eliminate the clustering of these sort of smoke and vape shops around the city. So that's what the law does, and it aims over time to reduce the number of retailers by putting a cap on the total number of licenses that we're going to issue, and then whittling that number down over time. As every 2 businesses that close, we're only going to issue 1 new license. So the concept here is that we're trying to reduce smoking rates within the city. We're trying to protect children, and we're trying to, like I said, reduce the clustering of these businesses that continue to proliferate in the city.
Okay. You know, like I said, I'm going to have a meeting on this because this is local law, so I appreciate it, Greg.
Yep.
We'll see.
One quick question though, does that include those big old advertising signs they put up as well?
What
When
type
they
of-
had put up those big advertising signs on the front of their store advertising cigarettes and.
Yeah, so this local law doesn't address advertising at all. It only addresses the fact that you're going to need to come get our local license to sell these products in the city.
So they can still put the cartoons up, okay.
But that might be, one of those might be a violation of the zoning too, so the signs.
That's in the ordinance.
Cigarettes.
And tobacco products. Tobacco products, yep.
Thank you. Okay. And 6970, Jeffrey, zone changes.
Yes, good afternoon. Jeff Harrop with the Office of Zoning Administration. I'll cover 69 and 70, and I'll begin by recommending that they be inverted, so 70 comes first with the zone change. And I'll cover that one first. This is for property situated at 195 Ainsley Drive, which is being purchased or has been purchased by Syracuse University. And they're requesting to rezone the property from commercial class B to planned institutional development district for the purpose of item 69 to expand the Ainsley sub-district district plan.
Who do they buy the property from?
I'm sorry?
Who do they buy the property from?
I don't know. There was a re-subdivision, so 195 Ainsley Avenue went through a subdivision, and I don't remember offhand who the property owner for 195 Ainsley was. So that property was divided in 2, and SU purchased the rear portion of 195 And that rear portion is what's being rezoned to PID.
Okay. You know, obviously, this would be a loss to the city for taxes, obviously, so. If the property was.
Again, the front half of 195 Ainsley will remain as commercial Class B.
Okay, so it's just the back part.
Yes, and I apologize for that oversight. I will recommend, however, subject to input from Corporation Council, the timing of the zone change for the rear portion of 195 is going to conflict somewhat with rezone. So what's before you now is to rezone the rear portion to PID, but the rezone map doesn't reflect PID. So once approved, the rezone map would technically revert this property back, well, not back to commercial B, but to whatever zoning district is reflected on rezone. So I would recommend, again, subject to approval or guidance from law department, that any approval from the Common Council for this rezone to include language that it would carry over onto or take precedent over the rezoned Syracuse map. So once you, if you approve the PID, once it's approved, then we want to take steps that the rezone map does not unchange it.
Is it easier to do that or just to hold this until?
That is another option.
Right.
Right. So,
Right.
what do you think about that, Corporation Council?
Holding it would be cleaner.
Yeah, cleaner,
Yeah,
much cleaner.
because that's too much.
So we'll hold both of these.
Okay, and, okay, good, because then it'll give me opportunity
Yeah,
to
that's
convert them.
too much.
So again, they are companion cases involving a rezone in order for SU to expand the Ainsley sub-district PID.
So we're gonna hold until after these zones pass. If the chancellor has any problems with it, we can call him.
Tell them to call Pat.
71. This is our annual agreement, correct, Commissioner? Okay, good.
Counselor, before we get started, there, in the short title, it mentioned that Planned Parenthood is part of this amount, but it's zero, and it really shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be in the short title. I don't want you all to get confused.
This is 71 you're talking about?
Corp Counsel Cartwright brought this to my attention.
Good afternoon, Councilors. Michelle Stepanski, Deputy Commissioner of Neighborhood Development. Item number 71 is request to authorize the funding allocations pursuant to the University Services Area Agreement. So under the terms of that agreement, MBD administers $375,000 annually in funding to programs and organizations that provide mutual benefit to the neighborhood surrounding the university on the east and south sides, residents, including students, and the university overall. We solicited funding proposals through a competitive RFP process. Those proposals were evaluated by a committee that's made up of neighborhood representatives, from both the east and south side, including Councilors Allen and Councilors Monto. In all, we had 8 organizations that applied for funding. The committee recommended that we make allocations in the amounts that were circulated before you to 7 of those organizations. We will also be holding a public meeting tonight in the atrium at 5:30 to allow for additional public comment, and have been soliciting public comments through online for the last 2 weeks.
Just want to clarify something, Joe. Pertaining to the email I got from Catherine today, this right here is only an allocation, right? The agreement already been approved, right? For 71. Am I right, Michelle?
Yes.
So this is really just, this is just paying these people that you already voted, you already approved, so, right? Or
Council has to approve it.
no, I know, that's what I'm saying, it's just, it's the allocation, right?
That's the NBD process.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So you're having a,
So this is just related to the MBD process. This is a separate subset of the broader services agreement, which the council has already authorized.
so that meeting tonight is not going to change anything on that sheet that we're voting on Monday, right?
It's certainly, we're looking for public comment for folks to weigh in. I think if there were any really substantive, major public sentiment in one way or the other, we would absolutely bring that to the funding committee. So.
I have a question. So how did you,
Pardon me?
you would need a new letter?
Right, because, yeah.
Right.
That's, yeah.
So I know these are very similar names from last year. How did you come across the money that's allocated? One is wavered much higher than, well, two of them are wavered much higher than a lot of the other ones.
Sure.
So for instance, Westcott Community Center, their $142,000 is for what?
Sure. So I think that's looking at kind of overall programming and like what is the scope and nature of each of those different programs. It's also based in part on the total amount that each organization requested. So the ones that were awarded smaller dollar amounts were ones that requested smaller dollar amounts. So the committee, one of the things that they're looking for is what's overall kind of demonstrated impact that those organizations each have made. Obviously, Westcott Community Center does a significant amount of programming, and so trying to keep those things proportionate. Some of the other ones that are a little bit larger dollar amounts, they're for things that are related to home improvements, which is going to be a little bit more, obviously, kind of expensive.
So when I'm looking at this, Michelle, maybe you can't, but hopefully you can. When it says stabilization in the university neighborhood, is that going to pertain to, like, we know that a lot of the properties have been chopped up? So is this going to help maybe the landlord or the new owner put these properties back together?
I think the idea is kind of understanding the total dollar amount that we have before us. I guess just for setting expectations kind of clearly, I think full substantive kind of rehab, that's a different program scope. The idea here with these programs is like, what can we really do to improve kind of exterior improvements on things that align with other programming that we also have, just putting additional resources to things like the 1% loan programs.
So it's exterior.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do we provide, like, after we give this money out, do we provide analysis, a scope of services to see what, like, data or information?
Yeah, each of the agencies are required to do reporting on who all that they're serving, and the committee is able to take that into account from year to year.
And I'm going to ask this again, right? I've asked everybody that's come before us, at least quarterly, we'd like to see some of these results.
Certainly.
From all of these different projects.
Noted.
Thank you.
Number 72. Oh, Jenna's, okay.
Good afternoon, councilors. Jen Tift, Director of Strategic Initiatives. So 72 is a no-cost extension of a contract that we funded with ARPA that you all authorized about a year and a half ago with Center State CEO, which is providing a stipend-based training and apprenticeship program for a number of different high-tech or construction-related training programs. And as of right now, so their original contract expires at the end of this month. They still have a bit of funding left out of that initial $824,000 you all approved. So, and in addition, they have a pipeline of city residents who would still like to be a part of training. So the proposal is to just extend their contract by 6 months so that they can offer some additional training courses with their partners, including SUNY EOC and others, to those city residents. So just we're not adding any additional money to it. It's just a 6-month extension on the current contract. And we do have Amy Durfee and Chris Montgomery with us who can answer substantive questions that you have about how the programs are going. But
How many folks have we trained so far?
we've trained about 200 city residents.
Wow, 200, outstanding.
Yeah, they've already exceeded the overall targets for the program. I think they've done an amazing job, honestly, of doing additional fundraising and blending our ARPA money with other sources of money to really be able to reach a lot of folks. And we think this, additional time will allow them to hopefully serve another 40 to 50 city residents.
It's very unfortunate that ARPA money is running out for something like this. This is something that probably the city should contemplate taking on a regular basis for our city residents. Yes.
Yeah, they've really done an amazing job.
How much money is left?
100,000.
About 70 now.
As I said,
Okay,
70,000.
about 70 now.
As you said, yeah.
I said
Okay.
100,000
It was about 100 when I wrote the letter 3 weeks ago.
And I agree with you, Patrick. I think that it's a phenomenal program, and we need to figure out a
Nuns
way.
used to call me that. Patrick.
You didn't know I used to be a nun? No. But no, it's a phenomenal program. Chris, Amy, thank you very, very much.
Thank you for your service to the community. Outstanding.
I have a question. This one, no.
Am I good?
Let's go. That's phenomenal. I love what you guys do.
Rashida, it's Patrick.
It's Patrick. Patrick from SpongeBob.
I was always in trouble.
Isn't it Patrick from SpongeBob? Okay. Sorry. One other question for the
Who is it?
Well, here we go. Michael's here, so he can take it. How do we, just so I can tell constituents, this comes around every year, the money. How do we make sure that organizations, neighborhoods, programs know about this allocation of money that is accessible for them in that university area?
So great question. So first of all, I believe two service agreement cycles ago,
Right.
we expanded, so it's not just university area, it's also on the west side of the campus as well, so it goes into the south side. And that has been, to me, that's been a great recognition between the city and the university, the fact that while the 81 is really the worst divider that you could possibly have, these are still neighbors of the university. And so what we've done is we make sure, one, we keep a listserv of every agency that we're aware of that's providing services within that service map that was part of the agreement that you all approved when you approved the service agreement. And we make sure that it's out that way, and then also share it through the other networks that we've got.
Okay, so like you guys send out a letter to organizations saying.
Well, so we sent out an email blast to everybody, making sure that it's aware. The counselors that have been on it, Counselor Allen has been on it for a handful of years. Counselor Monto as well certainly have networks where they're able to make sure that people are aware of it. But we just try to make sure that in every way can that we do.
So this, my last question, just so I could know. Does this exclude any organization, church affiliate organizations who have programs within inside their buildings?
So it depends on how the organization is incorporated.
Okay.
So we're not in the business of giving money directly to a faith organization, but many faith organizations do have a separate separate setup, and a lot of times, depending on how it's incorporated, they could qualify.
Okay.
Yeah, really what, generally speaking, and I did not participate in it this year, so I'm speaking from an overarching standpoint, and certainly for counselors that were on it, feel free to add in or correct. But, generally what we're looking for is an organization that has either a proven track record for what they are doing, and we're able to say, when we look at an application, what you say you're doing is what we know that you do. Or if it's a new idea or a new organization, that we're able to do some type of vetting of it.
And trying to stay within the guidelines, and I'll speak from being involved in it, trying to stay within the guidelines of what it's there for. The money's there to try to stabilize the neighborhoods that are impacted by the university that is in the middle of them.
Yeah, the reality is $375,000 is a lot of money, and also it goes quickly.
I just asked a question because I just want to make sure that we are getting the information out to everybody. There's a lot of organizations and youth organizations that are out there, some church organizations who do have, they're registered as a non-for-profit, and they're doing phenomenal jobs, but it's just making sure that they're knowledgeable of that, right? The support systems.
Well,
I support the teams, but it seems like it's the same people, right? And there's so many other people that are doing great things that are just getting missed. So I just wanted to know how we were getting
fair question. And there are a lot of times a repeat, and honestly, that's because that they've demonstrated that they're able to have high impact with the money. But there's also, you will see things, and it's not obvious when you see it once a year, right? But for those of us that review on an annual basis, you will see things that'll come on, go off, because it's a one-time project, organization expanded, organization contracted, so it does change from year to year.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Commissioner, okay, set.
All set, thank you.
President Hudson.
All righty, Counselor Allen for Counselor Majok.
All right, thank you. So he has items 73 through 83.
Good afternoon, Rich Shaw, First Deputy Chief of Police. This is an agreement with Global Perspectives Consulting to provide cultural competency training. This is the same training that we've done for the whole entire department from the chief on down. This would be to bring in Dr. Strauss back in to cover the folks that haven't been covered, the new hires. We're going to strategically place it so our last academy class and the incoming academy class can get this all at one time.
Okay. Thank you. 74.
Good afternoon, Council. Rick Kistelstein, Executive Deputy of Fire. We got our annual agreements and requests for waivers of bids. 74 is with Tim Downs for video services. He helps with our EMS training programs to keep our firefighters trained and sends out programming to all the firehouses. Questions? Okay, the rest are all requests for waivers. The first is Andrew Vendetti with Syracuse Fitness. This is where we purchase all of our fitness equipment for the firehouses, and this is to have the same person come and service the equipment that we buy from him. 76, this is for Churchville fire equipment. This is for components and parts and for repairs for the most recent fire engines that we bought. These are for repairs of the Pierce manufactured engines. This is the authorized dealer. 77 is also with Churchville. They're the closest authorized dealer and repair center for 3 of the manufacturers of the turnout gear or the bunker gear that our firefighters wear. So anytime we need repairs or anything done to it, we send it to this company.
Okay.
Okay, 70, where are we, 78? This is Colden Enterprises. They are the authorized dealer for the Hamatro rescue system. This is the newest Jaws of Life is, essentially encompasses. There's about 4 or 5 different tools. These are battery powered electric. Eventually we're going to be phasing these completely in. Farther down we have.
But before you move on, so is this a new vendor? Because I don't remember ever seeing that name.
This one, Colden? No, well, new like the past couple of years. This equipment's probably, I would say, 3 years old now. They're the authorized repair for the Hamatro, which are a battery-powered version of the Jaws of Life kind of stuff. So we can do extrications farther away from our old system runs on oil, so they're pneumatic, so they have to have hoses go back to a pump that pressurizes it, moves it, so they're limited by how long the hoses are. This new version, this is the latest, greatest. We don't need those pumps as next to where we're doing the work. We can do extrications and use those Jaws of Life farther away from our
How many do we have?
We have 1 set of these tools. Our old ones are AMCAS tools. We have 2 sets of those that are starting to fall apart, and we're trying to lift them.
So we only have 1 set of Jaws of Life?
It comes with, there's numerous tools, yes, yep. There's probably about 5 tools with each set. There's cutters, there's things that spread apart, there's hydraulic rams and things like that. So there's 1 set that's Hamatro, about 3 years old. In the future, we'll probably be looking to get another set and then a backup set to that, so that we'll have all the other ones replaced, but can't just, as you know, we can't just buy them all.
I get it, but we can
Phasing.
have a multiple tragedy where we may need to use 2 sets of jaws of
Oh,
life.
the other ones, the Amcus ones are still in use. We have other companies that have those Amcus tools with the hoses so that they can still do that.
So those ones require oil. This one you can use off of a battery.
These are battery powered, yep. Yep. 79 is for E1, the Rev Group. This is for a bunch of our other engines, the manufacturers for these engines. This is the authorized dealer. So this is the one that would repair and supply parts for most of our engines as we are phasing into a new manufacturer also. Number 80 is a request for a waiver for Jerome. This is the dealer for our air packs, our SCBA packs. They're the only ones that can work on them and still keep them under warranty.
Just a quick question, because I watched Chicago Fire.
Sure.
How long does that air last, you guys? What's the life of that air?
They're rated at 45 minutes.
Okay.
We generally use them, I mean, depends on how much work you're doing. Generally, the firefighters blow through a tank in about 20 minutes. It's a lot of work and huffing and puffing, so it burns it down fast. If you're sitting there at a desk, you could probably breathe it for 45 minutes.
You don't need to wear that at no desk? Okay.
Number 81 is is that the one I just, no, this is for the Amcus tools. 81 is for the Amcus tools. These are the older generation of the Jaws of Life, so we can keep them going until we can completely change over to the battery operated ones.
And I hope you plan to add in your next budget next year, you plan to add for a new set of Jaws of Life?
We'll absolutely try to do that.
Okay.
Number 82, I just heard from Rich DeVesti that this PBS break is under contract. So I guess I'll have to go back and look into that. If we can do that, then we don't need a waiver on this. We weren't aware that they were on contract. That must have changed very recently.
So are we holding this, or?
We could probably hold it for now until, and as long as we can get on the same contract, there's no reason to have a waiver for it.
Okay.
So just let us know on Monday.
Okay.
What you want us to do.
Number 83 is my last one here. This is for a waiver for Sutphen and Vandermolen. This is the authorized dealer for the trucks, the big ones with the giant ladder on it with the bucket on the end. We have all of our trucks right now are Sutphen trucks. That's the manufacturer of it. Those are the big ones.
Okay.
All right.
You did a great job, Councilor Machuks.
Thank you.
Yes, you did.
See how quick we did that?
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All righty, Councilor Allen for Councilor Allen.
All right, so I have items 84 and 85.
Good afternoon, councilors. I'll be quick because I didn't eat lunch before the beginning of this, so I'm starved.
None of us did.
So this is a request to apply for a grant from the New York State Department of Parks, Recreation, and Historic Preservation. It's a certified local government grant on an amount not to exceed $40,000. There is no local match required for this. The purpose of the grant is to hire a consultant to work on a new certified local government program handbook that's going to be available for communities across the state. The State Preservation Office reached out to me, to ask if the city would be willing to partner on this with them. They need a local partner to be able to do this. So I don't know if you would like a little background on the CLG program, if that would be helpful. Okay, so it is a program of the National Park Service. The Park Service has recognized that the identification and stewardship of historic resources really starts at the local level. So they have created this program in conjunction with the 50 state historic preservation offices across the country to provide help to localities. And to become a CLG community, you have to demonstrate through a certification process that you have an appropriate local preservation legislation or local law, that you have a qualified historic preservation commission that is administering your law, and that you are maintaining a survey and inventory of your historic resources. The benefits of this program to CLG communities is access to funding primarily, as well as technical assistance.
Funding for the board or?
No, funding, actually, it depends on what you want to use it for.
Property
So
owners?
survey, it's not for property owners, it's actually more for the administration of the program itself. It could be board training. I've applied for grants for board training. Mostly we've used it for survey and inventory in the city. But also there's the backup of the technical assistance that they're able to provide. And the city has been a CLG community since 1986. So getting back to the handbook, SHPO's office is looking to update its manual. We will be at sort of the ground floor helping them do that. And obviously the benefit to us is ultimately this handbook and making sure that we're running a really solid preservation program for the city. And it's also great that it's great when a state agency reaches out to you to ask you for assistance. It's good to be on good working terms with something like the State Preservation Office.
Thank you, Kate, for all you do.
Part of the application process includes submitting our ordinance for our local preservation. So obviously you're going to be submitting our rezone, right?
We don't have to get recertified. And just to let you know, the State Preservation Office was involved in terms of helping us redo the preservation ordinance. This is actually just a handbook that is going to be available for CLGs across the state.
Okay, so it's not going to change rezone?
It's not changing, and it has nothing to do with rezone or a new preservation ordinance at this point.
Okay, and who are the members that are on the CLG currently for the city? Is that going to change as well?
Who are on the, I'm sorry.
Like, we are already a CLG community, right? So
yeah.
Who makes that up? The Preservation Board?
So the CLG community, it's actually an agreement between the National Park Service, the State Preservation Office, and the city of Syracuse. So the city of Syracuse is a CLG community, right? And we have proven that we are running a good program through our ordinance, through our commission. They audit us every about 5 years or so, and we've gotten gold stars. So it's good.
Very good.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, and 85, this is, we're gonna do an honorary street sign for the Syracuse Community Health Center. They're gonna honor Dr. Green.
Be Grinnell.
Say that again?
Dr. Grinnell.
Grinnell?
Yeah. I had the honor and privilege of knowing her, so.
Oh, okay, well, go ahead, take it away.
No, I'm in full support of that. Without mention, Grinnell.
Grinnell? Okay.
That's we call it Dr. Grinnell.
I know, I can read, but.
No, I'm just,
So this is gonna have she's gonna have the sign. They're gonna do like a grand opening of the new community health center, and they wanna be able to honor her for all the work that she's done in the community. And I believe they're gonna actually do it next month, but when we get information, we'll be able to pass it around to everyone. And I'm not gonna read through this. We'll do that on Monday if this show pass. Thank you.
I think you should highlight one of the reasons why she's so significant with the whole street, because she.
You can't do that on Monday? Or?
I mean, like.
We don't have No, she just wanted me to highlight while we're doing her a blue sign.
Yeah, because blue signs are, they don't come by a dime a dozen anymore, so that's why
Yeah. I mean, we get a lot of times where people want to get a street named after them because they worked here or because they were just a nice person. Oh, my grandmother was sweet. We're giving her a blue sign because of the work. No, seriously, because of the work that she's done for the community as a whole. Just because you work somewhere or you were a nice person doesn't necessarily mean that
Especially in the
we have
field
to
of
give you a blue
pediatrics.
sign. But somebody like her, she was able to like really have a powerful impact on the community. So that's why we're going to honor her in this way. But she's saying that because we do get a lot of requests for blue signs. But you have to have some type of significant impact on the community as a whole to receive the blue sign.
And she was a pioneer.
Sharon, and she, for the community health center, she kind of like steered off some stuff, right? Actually,
She, when you think of the community health center and his legacy, you think of certain doctors, and she was one of them in the area of pediatrics. But I just wanted to just take a minute because he's not here, and I wanted to publicly recognize our amazing Chief Mons, who is going to be recognized tomorrow morning. He's being recognized by the New York State Associations of Fire Chiefs as Fire Chief of the Year.
Of the year.
Wow. Pretty awesome.
And I was sitting outside the On Center yesterday waiting for it to start.
now, are you taking sponsors on this right here or what?
Yes, we can. So if anybody wants to.
Anybody want to co-sponsor for Dr. Grinnell?
Absolutely.
All right, there we go.
We're all on board.
All righty.
Got to make sure whatever the sign says is correct.
Yeah.
All righty.
It's spelled differently in here twice. Yeah.
Well, I gotta get.
Yeah, we'll get it updated for
We'll get
Monday.
it updated. Thanks, Counselor, for pointing that out.
And with that, I need a
So
motion to
moved.
adjourn. All in favor?
Aye.
Everybody, thank you. Have a great day.
Tomorrow at, what's that tomorrow?